Where do you feel like your game improved the most?
I think for me, it was kind of more off ice things. I think another thing I would say I was proud of was playing every game this year. I think so. I took a lot from my first year from guys and how they treated themselves off the ice. I think so. I took a lot into that. I played a good amount of minutes, so I think for me, I it was how I treated my body, and I think that was the biggest thing for me.
What's one thing you changed off the ice?
I think just really every day I had to do something. I think even off days, I think a lot of guys kind of just will just sit around. I think I'd make sure I get some stretching in, get some exercising in, and I think that was probably the biggest thing for me. Always making sure I got my work done pre-practice, post-practice, and every game day as well.
Your point total increases by 60. What was the best part of your offensive game this season?
I think I just kind of had a bigger role on the team from the year before, and I think I played with a lot of really good players, and we had a really good power play and good coaching too. So I think I was just kind of able to work with that and kind of take advantage of that, and I think they just made it really easy for me.
Well, your name was all over the OHL coaches poll. You were runner-up in three categories in the Western Conference: hardest worker, smartest player, best skater. What would you say is your best kind of trait or about your game?
I think it would be my speed. I think that's just kind of something I've always had and always kind of tried to use to my advantage. I think you can kind of pair that with a good high compete level and really work hard every shift, take no shifts off. And I think to be able to have good speed with that, I think is kind of one of my most dangerous assets.
You said it might be a bit natural, but how did you develop that speed?
Yeah, I think I've always kind of been just one of the more faster kids, but at the same time, I've worked hard on kind of increasing my explosiveness and quickness and things like that, and just kind of always playing sports around around home and around the house and things like that. I just think it's just kind of always been a thing for me.
Well, for a fast guy, you have a pretty amazing name, Jett. So what's the story behind it?
There's nothing really special about it. I think everyone in my name has a J name, so there's five of us all with J's, and I think my parents just kind of came across the name when they were thinking of J names, and they liked it, so I'm glad they did.
Yeah, it fits very well, very nicely. In the OHL coaches poll, you also finished third in the best shootout shooter category. What do you think makes you good in those one-on-one situations?
I think just spending a lot of time, outside road hockey, and shooting on goalies and spending time after practice. Sometimes the goalies will kind of let you do that. I think just even watching hockey too, it's something I've always been really interested in and something that I always watch and have fun doing. So I think it's just I think I had a couple good shots. I think I was only about 50%, but I think it's just a fun thing for me and yeah, it's pretty cool.
50% is a pretty good success rate in today's game in the shootout. Do you have a go-to move, a favorite move?
I don't know if I want to share that with with everyone, but I think I got a couple moves.
Who do you like watching when it comes to kind of breakaways, shootouts, those sort of thing in the NHL?
I think it all started with Pavel Datsuk for me. I think he had so many really cool highlight, tapes and films growing up. So I think, I was on YouTube watching those before my games when I was younger and kind of always was inspired by that. So I think definitely would be him.
You mentioned the power play earlier. So you're tied for second in power play assists in the OHL behind only Owen Beck. What did you like about how you played on the power play this season?
Yeah, I really like the guys I was playing with and kind of the coaching we got. I think, we had a lot of different looks and a lot of different sets, and that all started with our coaching. And I think everyone really bought into that, and they made it really easy on me. And I think they were just really easy guys to play with, move the puck well, and retrieve pucks well. So I think just we go out there and just kind of have fun with it, and I think it just worked out.
What's the number one thing that makes a power play successful in your mind?
I think the biggest thing is kind of just entering the zone and retrieving pucks with possession. I think it's kind of what no one really looks at, but to be able to have the puck and set up in the zone as much as you can, I think is the biggest part because everyone can kind of find those passes and things like that. But to be a little bit gritty on the power play like that, I think is the biggest thing.
When you weren't on the power play, you were getting a lot of the tough defensive assignments most nights. How did you assess how that went for you?
Yeah, I like that. I like kind of playing against the top guys. I think that's kind of the spot I want to be in and something that I really look forward to. So I think I take pride in playing against a lot of guys like that. So I think just for me, it's like I said, it's the place I want to be. So I was happy with it.
And who was the toughest person you faced in this season when it comes to that matchup role?
I think Cowan, probably a lot of those Knights guys were really good and gave us a tough time. So I think, going up against them, it was fun and it was challenging at the same time. So I'm looking forward to more of that.
Yeah, Cowan, the MVP of the league. A lot of guys had trouble with him. What was the biggest challenge when you were going up against him, shift in, shift out?
I think he's just someone who's always working really hard, never really takes a shift off, always on you, always on the puck. And he's kind of got everything: speed, skill, smarts, and especially that work ethic, I think is what gives most people a tough time.
What did it mean to you to be named the OHL's most sportsmanlike player?
Always an honor to kind of be put up with names that have won in the past, and it's a cool award to win. And I think it's definitely an honor to kind of be recognized in that way by the OHL.
What do you think it says about your game? Because to win that while taking on those assignments isn't easy.
Yeah, I think for me, I just try and kind of work my hardest every shift, not really kind of take in or get involved in a lot of the stuff after, and just kind of work hard within my game. And I think that's kind of what it comes from.
Who is your NHL role model?
I would say Nick Suzuki. He's from London, played for the Storm as well, I think. So I've always kind of watched his game closely, and someone who I've watched a lot on Montreal. I think he kind of does a lot right, and I really like that about him. The coaches can really trust him in all situations. So I think he's someone that I always watch.
Yeah, what do you pick up on? Maybe the little things that uh, the average fan maybe doesn't notice about Suzuki when you're watching him and studying him. What do you see?
Yeah, he's a really detailed player, and he has a really good stick, and he's kind of good without the puck, getting into areas, and really good supporting the D and supporting the forwards as well. So I think he's kind of everywhere all at once. So I think that's kind of the biggest part of his game that I like, is just how detailed it is.
So our TSN hockey insider Bob McKenzie, he came out with his final rankings of the draft eligible players this year. It's based on a consensus of scouts, and you were at number 19. But he also added that several scouts told him they're picking up on momentum behind you. Is that kind of what you're feeling as you get closer to the draft?
For me, it's not really kind of what I'm worried about is where I go in the draft. I think whatever happens, not really going to change the way I do things and the way I look at it. No matter what happens, I think if I get drafted, it'd just be an honor. So that's kind of all I'm focused on.